This sounded quite grand, doesn't it? Strategic positioning of a National Forest Company. What I really wanted to do is just run through some of the changes that we're putting in place and have put in place. Because in a way, the last 25 years have been mostly about getting this place to be recognized as a forest, changing the landscape effectively, and on top of that, being able, as Simon has demonstrated, to change the economy and also people's lives. But actually, us as an organisation, National Forest Company, haven't really been well placed, or as well placed as we need to be now, to develop the kinds of things that we're going to talk about today. And this is some of the changes that we've been putting in place. So in April last year, we secured charitable status, which was quite a long slog. Anyone who's ever been through that journey will know about it. And that actually means that we're a much more flexible organisation now. You know, we're still an arm of government, but we're moving away from government, and that means that we can start to secure different kinds of income for ourselves, but also for you as partners, and we can be more entrepreneurial, which actually is quite a big shift. We can start to be thinking much more about commercial development, and that's very exciting for us. And being charitable also sets out the opportunity to think about the next 25 years. So today we'll look at 10 years ahead with the growth plan, but actually we want to look bigger than that. What's the next 25-year vision for the whole forest? And as we look forward, it's very much about setting the context for us as an organisation and the forest as a whole. And we've looked at three main themes. And the interesting thing about those three themes is that they need to be better balanced than in our early phase. So our early phase was very much about creating a new forest. And now it's about creating a resilient forest. How do we make sure it's connected? And how do we make sure it's well managed so it is resilient environmentally? But then equally, we need to ensure that our forest is accessible. Some of Simon's figures are demonstrating about 80% of the forest that we've created has public access of some sort, and we're really proud of that. And we need to be able to promote that and connect that even more to maintain and develop the kinds of accessibility, whether that's through education, whether that's through people getting out and being active, or whether it's a whole range of other kinds of accessibility. And then thirdly, again, balance. We need to make sure the forest is sustainable. And that means economically sustainable as well as environmentally. And all of the things that you're doing are contributing to that. So the woodland economy, the tourism economy, the mix of low carbon economy are vital to making that work into the future. And we looked long and hard at our organisation to see where we fit in the landscape. Where do we fit as a new charity? And actually, we went full circle to say, we don't really want to change hugely. We want to be a small facilitating body. That's what we're good at. That's where we fit best. And that means that we'll work in this way by leading, enabling, investing, advising, demonstrating, promoting. That's kind of what we do. We're not doers ourselves. We won't be operators unless there's a real gap in the market and people want us to do that. We want to see private sector and public sector doing the delivery. We will do the enabling. And that's a really important message for today. And that also leads into a number of principles about how we work. So we will balance those three issues across sustainability. It's really critical for us. And we will be about driving new business, growing business, in order to deliver the forest. Rather than trying to do it ourselves, we'll use the private sector to do that. And in terms of public sector, we want to shift public policy to rely on and recognise the benefits of the forest much more, whether that's a health sector, education sector, whether that's about social care or activity. And we see lots of opportunities for public policy to use the forest more productively. And part of that actually is getting communities to take greater ownership of the forest, either physically in terms of new constituted groups, managing sites, but actually that can be intellectually as well, people buying into the vision. And increasingly important, how do we encourage our beneficiaries to contribute, whether that's visitors, residents, or businesses? How do we encourage that to work so that we get a much more sustainable economics of the forest, and particularly for contributing to the maintenance, which is going to require cost? And then finally, a really important feature, and we haven't talked about it much today, but the idea of planning in the forest is really, really critical. We have some of the most forward-thinking planning policies in the country here, which have enabled development, but they've enabled development that also contributes to public benefit. And we see that as a real guiding principle of what we do. So we're not about anti-growth, we're actually about promoting responsible growth. And our planning policies have been fantastic to contribute to that. Again, many of you will have benefited from that. So some recent changes that we've put in place to shift the organisation into that new territory. We've put a new Director of Development in place. David Bork, who's with us today, is our new Director of Development. He joins us in a couple of weeks, and we're really excited about having that shift in the organisation. And that means that we will have an increased focus around our marketing, our income generation, and our profile building, all the things that we know are needed. And alongside that, we'll have a new marketing role as well that we're exploring. As I mentioned, more entrepreneurial activity, so we're looking at more commercial activity. Great to see things like National Forest bottled water using the logo as a commercial opportunity. And we want to see more things like that where we can develop commercially alongside the brand. The Tourism Growth Plan, again, today is very much about positioning the organisation in this idea of growing business, growing existing business, but bringing new business into the forest as well. And closer partnership working, and we said a lot about partnership working. One of the things that we've spent some time on over the last 12 months is developing our partnership with our destination management organisations in the forest. And I think we've got into some much deeper territory than where we were previously. So real partnership is about understanding each other's strengths, understanding where we want to invest and working better together. We know that all of you will appreciate the partnership working we're putting in place, and some of that we'll talk about in a bit. So what we've done throughout that also is try and develop the distinctiveness of the forest and understand that. And that's been a sort of branding exercise, if you like, but what's come out of it is to really understand what's important about the forest and what makes us special, essentially. And some of the things that we want to do through the growth plan, but also through the organisation as a whole, is do this. So linking businesses who are outside of the forest but aligned to the brand much more closely to what we're trying to do, and businesses within the forest to see where is their alignment to the forest, whether it's the story, whether it's direct delivery of the forest outcomes, whether it's engaging in some of the products and the logo. And then our support will be very focused around existing businesses and seeing how all of you can develop, but also bringing new ones into the forest to directly support delivery of outcomes. And as I mentioned, encouraging businesses to seek opportunities where you can help contribute to the maintenance, whether that's through visitors doing it, you directly yourselves, whether that's through residents doing it. Really important to get that cycle working where we can support the growth of your business can help pay back to the maintenance of the forest. So some examples of that, you'll have been part of or seen the Forest Life campaign. Again, we'll talk a little bit about that later. An example of how we're trying to coordinate the benefits and the brand of the forest. Some particular product development, and we want to do much, much more of this, whether that's the festival feasibility work or something like the Edible Forest that happened last year. Growing businesses, well, we've been working closely with Go Ultra events recently, the endurance events in the forest, positioning them in the forest as part of their selling point, but also looking at how the benefits of that event can contribute to raising awareness of something like the National Forest Way. And also bringing new investment into the forest. We want to do more of that, and the partnership we have in Charnwood, looking at a major bid to Heritage Lottery Fund, again, is a good example of how we want to do more of that. So lots of examples of how we want to position ourselves as an organisation to help you to grow your businesses. Who knows where the future might take us? I mean, I think we need to be ambitious. I think we need to be proud of this destination. It's maturing. It's developing its distinctiveness, and we want to do that with you. Whether we put some of these things in, who knows? I'd like to think we can develop a sense of forest life and really understand and buy into what that means. So thank you, and I do hope you share in that vision for the future.